Excellent. All right, and we're all unmuted, so, okay, so, we'll start off with, opening the meeting, and it's like about 9:05, 9:04, we're opening the meeting up. I'll review the agenda, which includes, public comments. We approve or review the minutes of the January meeting. We'll discuss wildfire management, discussion, erosion. Jennifer's gonna cover that. Tommy's on the meeting here, so I'm letting him in. And the last thing on the agenda, or the last thing is an update on dam activities and any items that we can anticipate in advance. All right, so let's see. I think we should start off with public comments. And do we have any? See anybody's hand raised, and I'm not hearing anything, so I'm assuming there's no public comments. All right, next item on the agenda is a review of the minutes from our January meeting. I sent them out also.
Somebody's making a lot of noise on there. Could they be muted?
Okay, good. I think we're good. Any comments? Let's take a minute and just review the minutes for those of you who are looking at it. Are there any changes or corrections that need to be made?
I think they were good.
Yeah, I was fine with them.
Approve?
No.
Motion to approve?
Second?
Second?
All those in favor, we'll go around to approve. John? Catherine?
Yes.
Dave?
Aye.
Eric?
Yes.
And Mark is yes. All right, so the minutes are approved. Thank you very much. I think the next item on the agenda is the wildfire management plan discussion. So back a month ago, I sent a note to the select board to try to get it on their agenda. It hasn't gone up for discussion at that point, or at this point yet. I think Art, who's supposed to be in the meeting here, but I think Art is contacting Phil to see if he wants to do it for the Lake Wyola Association, and to see if he can do the presentation over a Zoom meeting, or the training over a Zoom meeting. And if that's the case, then we invite the whole town to participate in that. Dave, do you have anything else to add?
No, I guess I don't. I guess I would ask Eric if there's been any headway about getting this on this select board meeting agenda.
There has been no headway, but I think my recollection is we've asked Lenny, like sort of as the head of the fire department, to champion this cause. And
Okay.
I don't think anything's. We should probably have dropped the ball, to be honest. The select board has been up to our eyeballs and God knows what. I think there's more chance now. We have hired a town administrator, and whatever, things have changed. So I think that we should be able to get to it more readily.
Right. I found it humorous that we could put Pineapple Express on the select board agenda and they weren't even prepared to go, but we can't get this on there. So
Yeah, well, hey, important things first. No, I don't know. Good. That's a good point. It's a fair point.
I don't mean to be a sarcastic jerk, but I couldn't.
No, I think it's a good point. I think the point's well taken. Yeah. I don't know whether Mark should write that letter again, or whether we should write a letter again to, I'm glad to bring it up at the select board, believe me, but if that will do it, or talk to Lenny. I don't know how we want to proceed, but a little, it's a squeaky wheel gets the grease kind of deal. Well, you know the deal, that story.
You want to resubmit your request, Mark?
Yeah, I could say, well, how about if I just send it up to Lenny and the police chief,
Yeah, do that.
Yeah, that
They're
would be
both
good,
on-
because it's really an emergency management committee issue at some level. I mean, not that the select board might have to weigh in on it, but really the emergency management committee is the one that's gonna have to make this all happen, I think. And you're right, that's a good idea to do that. Address it to the emergency management committee and just say that you would like to meet with the select board and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay, I'll get that off this week.
Great.
And I'll copy a set for it, so it doesn't cost me. It's just, add a few more people to the list. Like, any other comments on that? I know there's a lot of interest around the lake, to participate in this. And so, even if the select board doesn't do anything, I think the Lake Wyola Association will drive it.
Is your sense that they will do this for the whole town? I can't remember, like, I mean,
Yes.
like, they will do it for the whole town.
Yeah.
That's
As a
that's
matter of fact,
impressive.
if we brought in Leverett and Wendell, he'd incorporate all three.
Wow. It's kind of hard to believe they could do that, but okay, great. I'm all for it.
The project they did at the Montague Sands was massive. Massive. You know about how much they cut in there.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all Firewise.
All right. All right. Yeah, cool.
Any other comments on the wildfire management plan?
You might just put that in the letter that maybe we should try to team up with other towns. That's all. That maybe there's an opportunity to team up with other towns. If that helps us or hurts us, I don't know, but I don't know.
I've talked with some folks in Wendell and they're interested. They're going through their own issues with a dam that's going to get taken out and they're going to lose a pond that the fire department uses.
Yeah, yeah,
So, I mean, silliness,
yeah. Sounds possible. Sounds familiar.
right?
Here's, Art.
Art just came in, he's connecting in, so let's ask him if he has any updates since.
You're on the
Good morning.
spot, Art.
We've just kind of discussed what's been happening with the wildfire management plan. Art, did you have a chance to contact Phil?
You're muted.
Yeah, sorry, I'm late. Computer problems. I'll contact Phil over the weekend.
I'm gonna send another note out to fire chief and police chief to see if they can, drive it to get on the agenda for the select board. And, that we're pushing. Okay. Next item is an update on the Lake Wyola Stormwater Erosion Task Force. And I'm gonna turn it over to Jennifer, at this point.
Okay, hi, everybody. Thank you. Haven't been with you in a little while and there is news to report. So when I was with you last time, I mentioned that the task force's approach was to look at the FERCog watershed-based plan recommendations and to see what we might recommend to the select board as far as implementing some of those suggestions. Dave, you brought up pointedly the last time how many projects have been started and thought about and not gone too far in the past regarding stormwater erosion. And so our aim is to change that. And so what I thought I would do today is also, because we may have just talked in the abstract, would it be helpful for LWAC to see the actual sites that FERCog has recommended that some attention be given to? I have a map of those. I could share that.
Wouldn't hurt.
Okay, so let me see if I can do this. I have done screen share before. And it wants me, of course, to do some kind of an update. Um, oh
I
God,
think maybe you need permission to do, like you have, be a
yeah, I'm
co-chair.
doing
I'm
that
not
one.
familiar totally, but I've heard it said many times at meetings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and also, okay, I won't, that might take too much time because I don't have permission apparently, but there are six sites. I think you guys have the FERCog plan, so you can look at those yourselves. It's it's towards the back of the report. Of those six, well, there are really seven sites. The seventh site is all of Fisk Brook, and that takes in Wendell and Pine Brook Camp and everything about Fisk Brook. So that's, our task force has put that into a place alongside the other six sites, which are all sites that either involve town roads like Locks Pond Road and Wendell Road, and Lake Wyola Association roads that come off of what we're calling those upland roads directly to the lake. So one of the recommendations of the FERCog plan involved a geomorphic study of the Fisk Brook area, as well as a hydraulic and hydrology study, an H&H engineering study of the whole watershed, but especially those other six sites. So our approach so far has been to pursue, and our task to the select board is to make recommendations about how to implement some of these suggestions. And so we have sought estimates from engineering firms about doing the H&H study. And we've also sought counsel from FERCog about what the implications would be to have the geomorphic study done at a latter time, or to have both studies done concurrently. And that has not logistical implications, but it certainly does have funding implications. And at our last committee meeting, we said that we were going to ask FERCog if there was anything in the science of it that would point us in the direction of either putting the geomorphic study off to the side or not. Because we, if there is scientific basis for not doing that, then we would take that as our guide. It would involve a lot of coordination with multiple stakeholders and would delay some other things. So the FERCog rep who we work with has been on vacation. She's going to get back to me on that science question on Monday. So just to say, we have estimates from two of the three engineering firms that were recommended to us. They range at this moment somewhere between 35,000 and 75,000. One of the proposals, one came into us with a full-fledged proposal for an H&H study that was the proposal itself was super impressive. We haven't reviewed it with the task force yet, but it was very detailed in their ability to work with us and with the town to pursue funding, to make things happen. It was really not a bare bones kind of proposal. And this is a firm that also worked on a similar kind of project with the town of Buckland. So they have a track record in working with towns, with private owners, and with FERCog. So, and the reason I bring up that proposal is when we get to this funding opportunity that has recently become available, either of these two proposals that we'll be talking about and sending to the select board position us, I think, really well to apply for one of these rural development fund grants. So I'll get to that in a minute. So the engineering study is part one of the FERCog report. That's really to evaluate what they would do would be to model water flow, stream flow. They model that out to 100 years, I guess. They're looking then to see whether stormwater infrastructure currently in place is adequate for handling what their projections are for future water distribution within the sites. And then they make some conceptual recommendations, nothing, that could be built necessarily yet, but conceptual recommendations of how to appropriately structure drainage and work with drainage patterns in these sites. So that is a big chunk of what the FERCog report recommended. The second chunk was maintenance and management recommendations. Those would apply to both the town and the Lake Wyola Association. We have reviewed those as a task force, and those recommendations, we've added a couple of our own, are currently under review at the town with the highway department. And we are attempting to get a specialized meeting with the Lake Wyola Association, a cohort that can devote a chunk of time to having a discussion with us about it. It doesn't fit into their normal board meeting because they have so much business. So we've made a request that we can have a separate occasion to meet with key people who could have a conversation about these maintenance and management policy recommendations. The third thing is public education. What people here, both living at the lake and in the town, can do on their properties, on their driveways, to reduce any contribution that they might be making to sedimentation in the lake. And that component, the third component, is one that our committee will be reviewing on Thursday. So this is how we're working with the FERCog recommendations. And before I move into the last part of what I wanted to say with you today, does anyone have any questions on that?
Who is that firm is presenting the idea of the grand plan there?
Okay, so you remember Erica is on this task force too. So it's the only firm that really sought out to have a meeting with us and really spend time with us. The rest was all done via email, but it's the GZA firm.
That's what I thought. Okay, yeah.
They were really, I think
They've been good.
they've been good. I don't know, has the town had experience with them before?
Yeah, they're doing the dam at the lake right now, aren't they? I think they are.
That's right, they're our dam engineering company.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
And
so
they'll-
they have some time. Has your experience with them been good, Mark?
Very positive.
Yeah. So I don't think
They're-
excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt.
Oh, go ahead.
I don't think our task force is charged with deciding what firm would be best. I think we are to provide the firms and their estimates and what they're proposing to the select board, who ultimately decides, even if they want to engage with this. But of so far, the third one, who is Fuss and O'Neill, haven't really come. They spent time with me on the phone and in emails, but they haven't yet come up with anything. And they're about a month out from when they said they would have submitted something. So I feel a little bit like that. And GZA, I feel like they've really put some time in, a lot more time than the other firms, to really communicate with us and understand what we're trying to do, and also understand some of the tricky parts about having privately owned roads and town-owned roads. So, but that's up for the select board to evaluate. I'm just saying I feel very good about that particular, both proposals, but that one in particular. I think it will position us to get some funding. So I'll move on to that in a minute, but any more questions on how we're trying to get this FERCog plan off the ground?
I have a question about the GFM study. When do you expect to hear back from FERCog on that?
Well, she had been on vacation. She was talking to her coworker yesterday, and I would think I would be hearing back early in the week. And I also don't wait around. If I don't hear back, I'm pretty good at pestering people, unfortunately for them, but.
I would strongly encourage your task force to get a quote to do the GFM study, at least to get to understand the cost involved. And because if we're concerned about stormwater, going into the lake, or stormwater erosion going into the lake, Facebook, it can be the biggest source of sediment contamination. So, if you're asking, if you're looking for funding, I think we should, look for funding to do both at the same time. Especially because, my concern is with the beaver dams. And this study will help us understand what happens if the beaver dam like this book breaks. What will happen to the next three beaver dams below there? Will they hold the sediment back, or will they break also? And after that study will give us that information. And if all the beaver dams break, I'm concerned with how much water is going to come down and what's going to happen to the houses in the North Cove area. Is the amount of water going to inundate those houses? So because it's a potential safety issue, I think you guys should look at that also.
I think maybe while I'm listening to you, and I've always, known these things, I'm thinking perhaps I could approach both GZA and the other firm that we do have an estimate from, that is CEI. And we're not saying we're gonna actually try to do both these things at the same time just yet, because we would need, some inter-municipal conversations about it. But I think I could get some estimates so the select board knows, what we'd be looking at. And I think as we talk about this rural development fund, and not that that's the only source of funding, if we had those estimates, it might be good. The only trouble for the select board is that they have to write an expression of interest on this grant by the March 26th, which is the week after next. So the application wouldn't be due for some time in June, I believe. So there is some timing here, but let me see if I can get back to GZA and to the other firms to see what would be, and perhaps FERCog even has some costs from previous studies, because GZA actually did a geomorphic study, right?
Yep.
In Clausen Brook, so they would know something about that and could maybe give us a ballpark. So I will pursue that.
I think they contracted that out to a company in Maine or New Hampshire.
Okay.
I looked in their report in the
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
that report. Mhm. Well, that's a good idea. I'll approach them about that and see if we can get something fairly quickly.
Jen, do you think it might be beneficial if either you or I draft a mock-up of a letter of interest and present it to the select board so they have something to go off of to kind of push it along?
Well,
I think
Eric
it's a good
Eric
idea.
can weigh on that.
No, it's a good idea. The select board, to be honest, is just inundated right now with just contracts and what on. I don't want to bore everybody with it, but it's just, yeah, I think it would help.
Well, I kind of hinted at that at the select board meeting, and it didn't seem to be like there was any, no, we're good. But Jen, do you want you and I both drawing up and we can compare it?
Yeah, so here's the thing too, and I don't want to, the select board has other projects in town that they might be considering.
Right.
Perhaps I should read, I was going to try and screen share this. I don't know whether that's possible, but anyway, this rural development fund, I think it was Comerford who contacted Rita and said, hey, you guys might be eligible for something here. Do you have any projects?
I had the select board forward that to LWAC, so I'm assuming all you guys got a copy of that. Mark?
I got a copy of it.
Okay.
It seems when I reviewed the criteria that it is mostly geared toward development opportunities and building housing and things like that in rural communities. However, there is a category that they are interested in, that is water infrastructure and provision of water infrastructure, safer roads, and equipping a municipality with the resource to address impacts of climate change and improve resiliency for health and safety of residents. So I think this letter of interest its intent is to give the administrators of this fund a chance to weigh in and give the town, hey, you meet the criteria, this would be good, or you're not, it's not going to go. You know, so, and then some of the other things that I thought were encouraging is that they want to make sure that a project is, that what we're proposing is project ready to begin work in January of next year. So the fact that we have already been doing this work, that we have the FERCog watershed-based plan, that we have estimates from engineering firms who have done kinds of work like this before, that we've been doing our own, the town has been doing its own site evaluations and is working on this sort of watershed-based approach to things, I think situate us pretty well in being, I mean, I'm not a grant evaluator, but I go, this is project ready in my book, but it's not my book. So, but that's what the letter of interest would convey, of where we are and how ready we seem to be. The other thing that I thought was interesting, a town cannot apply for funds and then circle them to a third party. So they could to a third ineligible party, and a nonprofit group would be considered an ineligible property. But I believe that the restriction there, from my reading of it, is that the town couldn't apply for the funds and then give them to a nonprofit. But that doesn't prohibit the nonprofit from participating in the project in some way. And for example, there is something here that says projects that will be given priority if they show an inclusion of a cash match of 10% or more of the total project costs. And I was just thinking of the H&H study at this point. I was thinking that 10% of 75 would be 7,500. And if the Lake Wyola Association could kick in half of that, then that's the beginning of this kind of group-wide partnership commitment to addressing the issues raised by FERCog, and could definitely also be setting us up very well for some of the other grants that are used to deal with stormwater. There's a 614 state grant, there's a 341 state grant, there's the Municipal Vulnerability Project. And if the Lake Wyola Association was able to put in half of this 10% in some way, I think it would be a very good beginning. So this is my hope. I think that this is just popped up out of nowhere, this opportunity. And if we were gonna, I asked today if I could be on the agenda to say, is this something that LWAC would support too? And that we can, send a note or a letter to the select board saying, look, we think this is a project that looks like it fits. I haven't talked to the Lake Wyola Association about this, although I did let our liaison know that there was a funding opportunity, and I was still seeking this meeting with the reps on the committee that would be able to spend some time with the task force, but I haven't heard back. So that's where our committee stands right now. That's the update. I don't want to I know you have other things to do today, but I wanted to, and I'm happy if LWAC is saying, yeah, we support this, let's do it. Let's, put both of us together, writing to the select board saying, here's a project that might fit. And we hope you write your letter of interest on this project's behalf. I think that would be fantastic.
So are you saying that both of us should submit something to the select board that we're interested in, or should we do something together?
I don't know, Eric, is there a strategic advantage for separate letters, or should they be together?
The only one I can think of is just a time factor. We're sort of on, whether or not you have time to work out something together, I don't know.
Right.
But certainly we're under sort of a time crunch here.
I mean, you could write it from, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, just the towns, the current interim administrator is basically on her way out the door. The new administrator, in theory, is going to start. I believe it's April 7th. So we're in sort of a gray area here in terms of getting all that accomplished. So I don't know what to say. I'd say do it whatever is the fastest, easiest way to do it. And probably that's by doing it as individuals, I would guess.
Well, would the
Probably.
select board have any interest in, my question at the meeting was, why don't you just delegate this out to one of the committees? We can submit the letter of interest and we can do the application.
I think
And
it has to come from a town
is that the deal? Okay, all right.
municipal government entity.
That's too bad.
Yeah. I mean, they'll tell us that, I think Eric's probably right. If I, for example, who have some details about where we stand with this H&H study and potentially the geomorphic study, if I could get that to you, Dave, then you can write in support of such a thing from LWAC's point of view. And I could write in support of such a thing from my committee's point of view, and we give that to the select board, and we could ask, would you like us to shape this into a letter of interest?
Right.
Something like
We
that.
can write it. They can submit it, but we can write it. We can do the work.
Yeah.
Right. No, right. That's, I think, a good idea.
And I
Yeah.
think that's got to be our approach if we want to move this forward. So,
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't know what there may actually be a very particular format that a letter of interest has to be in, and that should be checked out too. But first, like I said, the select board has to say, I don't know whether the select board would choose to submit several projects or just one, but they might have other, I think Rita mentioned some, and they were going to talk to Dave about other projects in town. So I don't want to presume that they would choose this one. But I think we can say, hey, we've got this, project ready thing that we think could really fit.
okay. So why don't we leave it this? You're going to send me something along so that we're on the same page.
Yeah, it'll be like bullet points mostly,
Okay.
and I think I can do that pretty quickly, probably,
Okay.
Today or tomorrow.
I'm going to be out of the office on Thursday and Friday, so that's going to give me an opportunity to put some time into this. So the timing is good.
Now they have to remember the
I know,
select board.
26.
Yeah, so I was hoping I've already written to them saying, heads up, I think
Right.
we have a good project. So they'll have that, but I'm going to hope to submit something to them early next week.
Okay.
It won't be, like I said, it's just going to be bullet points, because if they choose a different project, then that would just be a lot of,
All right.
yeah. Does that
Yeah, I
sound
would-
right, Eric?
I would point out that the next select board meeting, scheduled select board meeting, believe me, there's plenty of meetings that aren't scheduled. We don't plan on it.
Mhm.
But the next one is the 25th. So
Oh,
that's
yeah.
right up against it.
Okay.
So I'd say, yeah, those letters should come soon, and I'll try to move it along, before, I don't know how we do it before every meeting. We'll have to figure that out, but I'll let the chairs of the select board figure that out.
Like, you could let us know perhaps if Dave and I were both able to submit a bullet point thing quickly, and then would you all be able to decide, yeah, we want you guys to go ahead and draft a letter of interest that we can work with? Would you be able to do that next week, do you think?
I'm speaking for the other select. Yeah, I think we'd have to have a special meeting to do that, but I think
Oh.
we could probably figure that out,
Okay,
how to do that.
Send me what you can, Jen, and
I
I'll get
will.
it back to you. I'll turn it around to you Monday morning.
okay.
Guys, I've unfortunately got another meeting coming up. I've got to get off this meeting. Mark, is that going to be a problem?
No, we're still good.
Okay. Thank
I have
you.
to leave. I have to leave by 10 too. So I don't know if that's going to be a problem, but
We're
here we go.
almost done here.
All right. Thanks,
Okay,
guys. Jen, I
thank
look
you.
forward to hearing from you. You've done unbelievable work.
No, it's all building on stuff Mark already did.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Thank you.
Okay, so any other questions for me? Yeah, I didn't know whether LWAC would have to vote on such a thing, but it seems like by assent, you all are in support of this as well. It sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, well, I'll sign off too then. Thanks again for the chance, and talk to you soon.
Thank you, Jen.
Yep.
Mark, it looks like you could